The opening of this movement is very Haydn-esque in style, with this little kind of jokey, comic-y phrase in the first violins. And we'll come to that in a second, but you'll see in this movement I'm after lots of gutsy, kind of strong approach to give that kind of typical Beethoven fire. But like this bit, there's also some really pretty and gentle moments along the way in this final movement. So this is one of them at the very top of it. So probably a good place to start is to talk about this opening before we go zooming off into the fast stuff. So we have this big G major chord, which needs to be absolutely crisp, attacked, really front, no fuzzy kind of fuzziness, really walloped, really. Just nice and strong shock factor before this kind of very contrasting light joke comes next. I think the best thing is for me to demonstrate how I'm going to conduct that, and I'll just kind of sing along a little bit as I'm doing it. That first chord, all you'll get into it is an and bang. There's the chord. So all you'll get is, we'll finish that third movement at a time, and bam, we're there. It stays strong. There's a little bit of a tail off on the end of that, but it has to remain strong. It doesn't kind of bring itself right down to nothing. So keep strong. And then first violins, this is what happens. Okay, so we get and chord off. Yum, ba ba, two, ba ba, ba ba, ya da ba ba ba, ya da ba 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 ba, ya da 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 da. So let's just talk about that a little bit further. I'll do another demo of it again, because I wasn't entirely clear as what I was after in that final bar or so. So I'm just going to go through that again. The articulation is absolutely key here. You know, he's very detailed on where he wants da ya da 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 ya da 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 da. So really, really light and lifted is super, super important. I'm just going to do that kind of lead in again, just so you can see exactly how I want it to work. That smoothness in the first violins leading into the pause. Where are we going? It's ambiguous, isn't it? So let's do that kind of opening again, just so you can see it. So we get and chord off, yum, ba ba, 2, 3, da dee, da da, 2, ya da da ba ba, ya da ba 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 ba, ya da 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 da. So hopefully that actually demonstrates that a little bit better, that the final, the E going into the F onto the pause mark there, I'll give you that. So just pauses in. Again, when we're doing this in person, I think it'll be far easier, and actually just by practicing it a number of times, it will fall into place. So it's it's not too tricky a corner. I think first violins is knowing it really, really well, so that you've got your heads out of the copies is an imperative for this bit, just so that we're able to play around with it a bit. And I'm sure Paul will talk a little bit more about how that works for the first violins, how to approach it technically wise. But yeah, I think hopefully that makes sense in how we're doing that. Okay, then we get to the pause. And there's different recordings that you hear of this that approach it in a different manner. They'll have the pause, and then they'll have quite a big gap, and then they're into the allegro. I want to kind of approach it in a slightly different way, in that we get ya da 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 da. So there's actually not much hanging about in that bar, in bar 6. We get to the pause. It's kind of the end of the joke, and Beethoven's like, "No, not really. Here we go," and we're into the full drive allegro. So we'll get to the pause. Ya da 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 dee. 1, 2, da la la yum bum bum, and we're in. Okay, so there's not much time. There's not much time. Heads are going to be key, so that 1, 2, and firsts we're into that scalic little figure. That scalic figure is in the piece for the rest of the piece. It keeps popping back. So pause, and 1, 2, and we're into it, and we're into that lightness of touch, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So I've talked a little bit more off-piste about that, but hopefully that kind of gives an idea of how that opening is going to work and how it's going to fit together. Just be very particular on the articulation in the first violins. The E natural in bar 5, again, it's just a really stroked and light. Ya da 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 ya da 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 dee. It's just slightly placed as well. Ya da 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 dee. Okay, so you've got time into that. But again, in person, I think this will make a lot more sense, but it gives you an outline.